Unsupermarket.
Welcome back to another episode of the Unsupermarket podcast. So, the world of small business, which we're going to touch on today, has many stories about people who are passionate about what they do and their contribution to sustainable and unique products. With this in mind, I'm going to be chatting with Belle, who is the founder of Belicious Spices. So, her brand is all about bringing high quality, flavorful and spices straight into your kitchen.
I've noticed that many store-bought spices, when I've gone into the supermarket and bought them, they don't have that freshness and depth of flavour that Belle's do. And hers are really easy to use. What were Belle's biggest hurdles getting Belicious Spices off the ground?
She's a big quality person. She wanted to have spices available with no fillers and preservatives, which creep into supermarket bought ones. And I think to anyone in food, it's a balancing act between sustainability, ethically sourced produce or ingredients, I should say, and getting it to market quickly.
Yeah, and that actually gets you ahead of the competition, doesn't it?
Yeah, sure does.
Yeah, Belle's also really great at supporting her product. On our Facebook pages, that all Hubsters have one, she goes in and she talks to them and gives them tips and discusses their recipes. It's wonderful.
And one of the reasons I wanted to show Belle's story is, and that it's more about spices, is because she just has this love of bringing people together and sitting down and cooking for people. She told me the story of, when she first came to Australia and not knowing people, and all she wanted to do was bring people together to eat.
I love her smoked paprika. It adds so much depth to, look, I use it for grilled veggies and I use it for meat and even soups. It's just wonderful. What's your go-to?
I love the Fijian fish curry that Belle makes. And I'm also a massive fan of her Masala, which is what her business started with. She just started with one spice, believe it or not, which is a very versatile curry spice. So, but I look, again, I've been a fan of all of her spices, and she has a few ranges from the one spice, which is the single spices that everybody should have in their spice drawer, through to the one meal spice packs that makes a one whole meal for a family.
I actually have a tip my mother gave me about spices, and she said, take the spice, a dry pan, put it on heat, and just lightly toast the spices, and it brings out all the natural oils and intensifies the flavour, and then you use them. And it works really well with the smoked paprika.
So the best way to store, this is another thing we're going to touch on, because we all have this spice drawer that annoys us, is the storage of spices. So the best way to store it and to keep them longer, not that we actually want you to keep them that long, the fresher the better.
Yeah.
But is also, I think you'll walk away from our interview all straight to your spice drawer to clean it up and get some better storage in airtight containers.
Well, let's get inspired by Belle and let's go to her kitchen.
Here we are today in Belle's kitchen. I'd like you all to meet the beautiful Belle from Belicious, Chef Belle, as we know her. And we're going to learn a bit more about the Belicious range of products that we get to buy through Box TV. I often get asked what the essential spices are to keep in your spice cupboard at home. This is a very clever range that you supply, because they are all of the essential things where if you want to cut down and not keep everything, they are the most popular spices to have to cook with at home. So the interesting thing that I noticed when I started comparing in my unsupermarketing process, I was comparing how spices came, how we bought them at the supermarket, which is either in jars or packets, and what the quantities are versus what Belle supplies. And I actually challenge everybody to do a little comparison, because I think you'll be blown away with the better quality, and just even a lot of the spice jars and packets you'll buy at the supermarket are only 10 grams. Most of Belle's are well, short of the bay leaves being 10 grams, but most of them are 20, 30, 40, or some of them are 50 grams. And if you actually compare that to the grammage that you're buying at the supermarket, the value is similar, if not better, but the quality is what I really notice is so much better if you do a little comparison. And then something interesting that I think that you've pointed out that a lot of people don't realise, that if you do look at the packet of, the label on a jar or a packet from a supermarket spice, they do have fillers and additives.
Yeah, like, for example, Leigh, salt, right? Everyone has salt at home. Everyone has salt at home. Everyone has sugar at home. So why add it to the spices? It's just fillers. It's fillers because it's cheaper. You don't need salt and sugar in your spices, in your spice mixes. The recipe will tell you if it needs a teaspoon of sugar or whatever it tells you. But it's not something that is necessary to add to your spice mix.
Now, what I would like to know is how Belicious began.
It was just me loving to cook, and I used to make a lot of food in South Africa, and every Sunday, friends and family came and ate the food. And when I came to Australia 14 years ago, we were transferred from the company. I missed that. I didn't have anybody, any family or friends around. So I called up some families from the school, from the kids' school, to come and eat, trying to recreate what I had, which is not always possible. And they used to love the food. They loved the food, and they always praised the food. And they always used to say, what do you put in the food? And obviously I couldn't name all the product, all the spices, because mostly I was making Indian curries, and the spices are so many, as you know, in the Indian cuisine. I don't normally measure anything. I told them, just chuck things in the pots, If it doesn't taste good, chuck some more. And I put it in a little jar, any jar. It was just a tomato jar, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I would put it in and give it to them to take home. Their neighbors smelt the food and said, what are you cooking? And they give it to their neighbors. And then their neighbors gave it to their neighbors. And eventually there was at least 50 homes with it used to be called the Belicious Masala, because I wrote with my own ugly handwriting on it. And one of my friends was the dog groomer. I made friends with her, and she came to eat at my house with her husband. And her husband was a designer, a digital designer. He said, why don't you sell this? And I said, no, that's not what my intention is, He said, no, I'm going to make you a logo.
A logo.
So I just didn't think anything of it. And he went back the next few days later, and he came up with this label, Belicious. It was Belicious Masala. And there was an orange one, a yellow one, and a red one. Mild, medium, and hot. And I fell in love with the label, and I thought, now I have to sell this.
Yep, it's meant to be. And so tell me more about then how you discovered Box Divvy and became a supplier at Box Divvy.
So instead of selling one by one, which is what you do online, I was also doing a lot of markets. But at the time, COVID came and there was no more markets. So I thought, what am I going to do now? I saw Box Divvy come up online, and I just had this idea of emailing them, asking, do you need spices in your boxes? Do you have spices already? And I didn't even expect it, but they've emailed me back and they said, yes, we're actually looking for a spice supplier. And this was in 2020 already. And that's how it happened.
There you go. Again, I was
so excited because, as you know, COVID ruins companies, ruined a lot of companies, and I was very fortunate.
The timing was right. So now I'd actually like to know more about your signature product, which you've just referred to, that originally came in 3 versions, being the Masala. Can you tell us? I know it's such a versatile spice. I think sometimes people don't know, having a food background myself, I think sometimes people don't know what to do with it because it can apply to lots of different cuisines. So tell us about the signature masala mixes.
I called it masala because in South Africa, everyone knew what masala was. Masala means mix. But at the time, if I had known better, I would have called it curry mix or everyday curry mix. It's actually it's a very versatile spice to use for basically anything you want. You throw in the chicken, throw in the masala, some tomatoes, that's it. You have a curry. It's that simple. So basically this masala, this is I renamed it Goan style masala, curry spice medium. So people know it's Goan style, it's Portuguese Indian. Because I realized that in Australia there's a lot of different kinds of curries. I didn't know that. There's all sorts of cultures that make curries. So I had to name it Goan so that, you know, that's more the flavor Goan. It's Indian Goan. But I think this is one of the most versatile ones that you can make anything you want. Yes, that's the mild, and this is the medium. And we named that one Mild Enough for Kids.
Excellent. That's great to know. You know, but I actually truly believe that we all need to introduce a bit of spice to our children younger so that they get their palates adjust to it.
I agree.
So I did that with my own children, and they all like enjoy spicy food as young adults, and that was, you know, it started at a very early age.
And you know, Leigh, when I used to do markets, I used to have the easiest thing to do is a bean curry. It's healthy, it's quick, it's easy. And the kids used to come and taste the bean curry at the markets, and they loved it. Kids actually enjoy this flavor. Also, another thing I'd like to tell people is that if you're thinking something is too hot, don't put less in the pot when you're cooking, because you're going to take away the heat and the flavor. Rather use the mild one, because the flavor, you use the same quantity, but the flavor is still there.
And if somebody finds something too spicy for them, what's the best thing to add to tone down the spice?
Butter. You put it in a little teaspoon of butter in your kids' or whoever plate and blend it around. Anything with milk, creamy stuff, will take away that spiciness. A lot of Indian families always put butter in their kids' plates.
Right.
My mom-in-law, my husband's Indian, South African. My mom-in-law used to do that with the kids when they were very small, but Indian kids get used to it at a very early age.
Now, as far as the general spice mix range, what's the best seller with Box City?
Unfortunately, because my beautiful one is it's in the backdrop, it's the butter chicken. It's definitely Australia's favorite. It should be Australian and not Indian. Butter chicken is
by far.
If you go online and you look at the reviews, there's someone on there that said that it's a very amazing story. They were going past a house and they smelled someone's food, but they didn't know these people from a bar of soap. They knocked on the door to ask them what they're cooking, and they gave them a little bit. The person that was cooking gave the stranger a little bit of the butter chicken, and that's how I got that customer.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Well, my family's favourite is actually the rendang. Where's the rendang?
That's the rendang.
The rendang. So I introduced the rendang when you first released it, and my kids voted it their favourite. The other thing that's worth noting too is most of these are 3 to 4. Like I get 4 meals out of my rendang. I've got a large family. I'm usually cooking for 4 to 6. So, you know, it's a kilo of meat each time, which I bulk out to double the size by adding lots of yummy veggies. But I do get 4 meals out of the rendang for what I would say is a large family. So moving on then to the 1 meal range, which are exactly as we call them, 1 meal. And you've got lots of different nationalities. I can just see here from Kormas to Fijian to the way down to Afghan
lamb. So this is the Afghan lamb. It's got a recipe at the back, very easy to follow. I try and make the recipes really simple.
And so all of these one meals have a recipe on.
They all have a recipe that I made from scratch and tested and tried. And if it doesn't taste good, I do it again until it's perfect.
Perfect.
And simple. It has very important that it's simple because some people just don't have the time. And then the front has how many chilies it's got. So this one is a medium spice. And Afghan lamb, it's for one meal of, generally speaking, a family of 4. We know that not all families are like that. That's like the perfect family. But that's one meal.
And so if you don't happen to have lamb in your freezer that week, but you've got the Afghan lamb mix, can you use it with other
You can
meats?
do whatever you want. This is doesn't have to, I'm making it easy for people to have a recipe. And some people love to have that. If you're a cook, if you're an actual cook and you know what you're doing, you can make anything with this spice. You can make potatoes.
You can do Afghan chicken, you can do vegetarian.
Fish, vegetarian,
and they're
vegan.
all vegan?
All of them are vegan.
All the mixes are vegan.
And gluten-free.
Wow. Excellent.
They don't have any added sugar, salt, no flour, no fillers.
No fillers. Excellent. I'm weighted with bated breath because I'm hungry. What you're going to actually just show how quick and easy it is to use one of the curry mixes.
Okay, I'll do that. Let's do that. I'm going to show you the 5-minute bean curry.
Fabulous.
5-minute bean curry was my first ever recipe that I used to have a friend that had 2 little girls and she used to work full time, and then she'd come home and not know what to cook, and I told her, just make a 5-minute bean curry. It's quick. And she made it and she was like, I can't believe the girls love it. And they were only like 3 years and 5 years old. And I'm going to show you how to make it.
All right, time is on.
So
5 minutes.
you don't have to, but I like to put garlic and onion. So I just put a little bit of garlic and onion. Don't try this at home. I'm Portuguese, so I know how to cut.
Without a chopping board. Wow.
Chopping board.
Actually, I've got an Italian friend that does the same thing.
Really? So it must be a European thing then.
Yeah. She's always just over the pot with a knife in her hand.
Not everybody had chopping boards in those days, you know, so we made our hands the chopping boards.
Makes you very good with a knife. Knife skills like no one else has, I'm sure.
Like I said, don't try this at home. There you go. So all you do is onion. I made it look easier, didn't I? And olive oil. Now, I like to put lots of olive oil. But it's entirely up to you because, you know, I'm Portuguese, so we use a lot of olive oil. So after the onion, I'm putting the tomato. 1 cup of tomato is enough. Or a can of tomatoes. And after the tomatoes, we're putting in the masala because Leigh loves hot food, so we're making it for her. We're using the medium. I'm putting 2 tablespoons. I let it cook for about a minute. It's not called a 5-minute bean curry for no reason. I'm putting a pinch of salt. If the tomatoes are acidic, you can put half a teaspoon of sugar to cut that out. But I buy the ones from Honest to Goodness, and they're really not acidic at all. They're very good. We're ready to put the beans in. This is the water that they use to cook the beans in. That's where the flavor is. It's like, you know, using the stock from the chicken or whatever. I don't throw away, I don't wash the beans. I use the water of the beans. A lot of people like to wash them, but it takes away a lot of the flavor. So I'm putting the beans in there, 1 can of beans. You can use any beans. These are butter beans. You can use chickpeas, you can use lentils, you can use 5-bean mix, you can use whatever bean you want.
And then can you use, if you wanted to, you could sear chicken and put chicken in if you...
Absolutely, but then the chicken obviously wouldn't be a 5-minute chicken curry.
Yeah, exactly.
And the reason why I really, really love this dish is because when you come home from work and you're starving and you don't know what to cook, but you don't want to eat junk food, you don't want to order takeaways, You just come home and you make a 5-minute bean curry. And it's healthy, it makes your stomach happy, and it's amazing. So once you put the beans in, it takes another 2 minutes because they're already cooked. 2 more minutes or 3 more minutes, and it's done. 1 bean.
Yeah, just 1 bean.
Good?
Oh, that is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, Belle. Love it. And it's actually not too spicy.
We can put some Belicious chili powder in there if you want.
No, it's perfectly fine. It's just actually warming my esophagus.
So we're now taking it out. If you have leftover rice or...
What incredible stories. And Leigh, running a small business, really, it's much more involved than one would think.
It is, Jane, and what joy Belle brings to her kitchen and her business.
And Leigh, do you have a segment showing Belle's spices in action?
Yes, we have Jason. He has cooked up one of the one spice meals. Basically, it was the lentil sweet potato 1 meal mix. Using the cauliflower that's been stuck at the back of the fridge, but you can use it on many different vegetables. And he made a delicious meal, quick and easy meal with that one.
Great. Looking forward to seeing it.
Hello everybody, my name is Jason. I've been a chef for over 15 years and I've worked in some of Sydney's best hatted restaurants, including a very famous farm-to-table restaurant in Sydney's eastern suburbs. I've been a Box Divvy customer for over a year now as well. And what I love about Box Divvy is that you can find great value, fresh produce getting delivered very close to where you live. Shout out to Kimberly, our Hubster in Newtown. Today I'm going to be making for you one of my favorite dishes using all Box Divvy fresh ingredients that we picked up from our Hubster. It cost us under $25 to make and it can feed quite easily a family of 4. It is a red lentil cauliflower sweet potato Dahl. Here I have it with a bit of fragrant rice as well. So let's get into it and I'll show you how to make this. Okay, so I've added in our onion, garlic, ginger and cauliflower into the pot. The next thing I'm going to do is add in the Belicious cauliflower lentil and sweet potato spice mix. Give that a stir. I'm going to set that aside for the next stage. Beautiful. Okay, in the next step, I've added in our red split lentils, the sweet potato, 1 can of crushed tomatoes, a can of coconut cream, 2 cups of water, and I'm just about to add in some salt for seasoning, so a nice pinch of salt. There we go. You can always add a little bit more in later if we need to. So I'm just going to turn the heat down on that before we do that, we're going to bring it up to the boil. Once it's brought to the boil, we're going to turn the heat down. Slightly uncovered, we'll put a lid on just a little bit off so the steam can come out, and we'll let that simmer for about 20 minutes or until the lentils are nice and well cooked through. So I've cooked off our lentils for about 20 minutes until they're nice and soft and well cooked through. I've added back in our cauliflower and onion mix with the Belicious seasoning pack, and I've given that a further 2 minutes just to get the cauliflower cooked and everything, all the flavors coming together basically. So the last step is what we're going to do is add in 2 tablespoons of butter. The juice of, you could probably go for a half a lemon, but I went for a full one because this one wasn't as juicy as others. And finally, we're going to add in some chopped coriander. Put that in there. We're going to give that a little bit of a mix, and then it's time to plate up.
And I hope that makes you all tremendously hungry. Thank you, Belle, for the freshest of fresh spices.
And if you were inspired by this podcast, and we hope you were, then please like this podcast so we know that you're there. And maybe, in fact, definitely share this with your friends, as Belle is an amazing spice creator and we'd like more people to know about her mixes.
We sure would. Thank you, everyone. See you at our next episode in a fortnight.
Supermarket!
One day we'll nail it.